Hi, my name is Cecile Baumann and I'm your host and the founder of the company Ganz in Bewegung. I'm a movement and Alexander technique specialist. My business serves holistic thinking people who want to improve their mind-body connection. Welcome to today's interview featuring Tammy Mitzka Crawford, a celebrated artist and an internationally published author who has not only mastered the art of expression but has also become a beacon of hope and inspiration for many. We are so excited to have her here again. But before I bring her up, I want to share what I mean by mind-body connection. The Ganz in Bewegung system we developed includes 7 defining components of being human. For non-German speakers, the meaning of Ganz in Bewegung is the whole of you in motion, which includes your movement, your body, your surrounding, your experience, your emotion, your thinking, and it's all connected with your breathing, and all is interconnected with each other. Tammy Mitzka Crawford is an artist with a diverse portfolio that includes evocative fine art, stunning 3D wall sculptures, reliefs, murals, and captivating paintings. Tammy commands prices from 5 to 6 figures, reflecting the profound impact her work has on collectors around the globe. What makes Tammy's journey truly remarkable is her resilience. Overcoming a severe head injury and various health challenges, she found solace and renewed purpose in the serene landscape of North Idaho. There, amidst nature's beauty, she transformed her artistic talent into a globally recognized career, supported by her loving husband and an unwavering community of friends. Beyond her artistry, Tammy is deeply committed to helping others find healing and self discovery. With over 38 years dedicated to volunteer work, mentoring, and coaching, she empowers individuals through her transformative approach outlined in her book, The Power of Art and Nature 10 Ways Both Can Improve Your Life. In today's conversation, we will explore how Tammy integrates artificial intelligence into her creative business model, providing valuable insights for artists and entrepreneurs navigating the complexities of the modern art world. As a creative guide, Tammy embodies the principles of health and authenticity in her work. Join us as we delve into her experiences with AI, how it enhances her artistic process while never overshadowing the essential connection with nature that lies at the heart of her practice. If you have any questions you like to ask Tammy, please contact her directly. Now, let's bring her up here. Welcome, Tammy. Welcome back, I have to say. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
joining us today.
Hi.
I want to go deep into all we've discussed in earlier interviews.
All right. Thank you for having me back. It's my honor. So, and of course, I'll always come here. You're a great friend. So,
Yeah, the thing, we talked about your book already. So if people are interested, they should really have a look at the interview where we talked about the book. And we also talked about retreats. Yes.
yes.
With Lori together, how you did the retreats and things together. So your time with Lori together. And also the podcast you have, the Unlocking Freedom in Nature. And today it's all about you, your business, your art, and also, how it evolves in future with the AI coming up. And it's not new anymore. We can't say it's new. It's already here for a while, and you are using it from the beginning. So I'm very keen to hear more. Can you share a bit about your journey as an artist and entrepreneur in the last, let's say, 3 years, and what keeps you inspired and motivated to be creative and a creative guide focused on art and nature?
So, well, as you know, I'm an artist at the core, a creative, and I love nature. So, with the art, it's just a continuation, and of course, I'm always relearning and learning new techniques all the time. My art is always about telling a story. So when I create art, like behind me, it's creating a story and it's 3D in case people can't tell that. So it's a sculpture. Think of it as a 3D wall sculpture or bas or alto relief. Each piece is carved and hand created. Nothing is real. It is created to look real. So when I meet with a client, it's to see what their design is, what the interior of their home or business is like, and listen to them. I take a lot of notes. I take a lot of photos. I look at what their art is that is hanging on the wall, the colors in their room. I ask questions like, okay, what colors do you want? You know, what do you like? I might have them pick out something they like that I already have an art piece on, look at through my gallery to give me ideas. But the other most important thing is the fact that I ask them stories. I want to hear stories about favorite places they've gone, favorite adventures, things that light up their eyes. And when I see that and see where the design, where they want the art piece to go to, that helps me to create a piece for them. So each piece is created to tell their story. So when I do a commission piece, if I do a piece for myself, like behind me, it is a story of different places here in the Northwest that I enjoy hiking to that is created. Or like a floral might be because it reminds me of a bouquet or my grandmother's flower garden. But at the same time, like if you saw the Hope for Tomorrow piece, it's of my two grandkids, but you won't see the faces. And people are, well, why didn't you share the faces? And that's because I want people to look at that art piece and realize that, or imagine that it could be their grandkids or it could be them and their brother or sister. I want them to think, you know, about that piece or, actually go to where that scene is. So whether, you're out on the lake scene or a river scene or you're looking at a floral, I want you to remember or recall a happy thought or, a good memory. So that way it's inspiring, it's encouraging, it's motivating, and it takes you someplace different than where you're at the moment.
It's so much like it's more life in a piece you created with a story. I feel like it's so much emotions packed into a art piece of yours. It's not just, you know, make it like nature realistic only. That's not the only goal. It's much more than that. It's more three-dimensional. It's more the whole person involved. And that's what I like so much because the human spirit, you said the glimpse in their eyes, when it really only you can see it. I think AI can't tell if a person is now lighten up or not.
No, not at all. I've used AI, well, for what, 4 years ever since it came out. I started using it before it even was popular, before ChatGPT came out, actually, to help me create ideas for ideas like when I'm writing or like social media ideas. And I use my ChatGPT all the time, daily, but it knows me. I have all my branding. It helps me with my SEO, optimizing, branding, everything you can think of. But it's mainly there as an assistant and is to give me ideas. AI will never ever take over the human touch or the human element of sculpting or listening to somebody's story completely and doing the exact. I can never replicate exactly what I create. If that makes sense.
Yes, totally, totally, because it's a process that develops in the moment. It's not
Yes.
something you can predict. It's
No. And so, these
unpredictable.
people, they trust me. So I get that whole story and everything that they've given me, all the information and my photographs. And I take pictures of where they're thinking of this location. And then I go back and I draw up 2 to 3 sketches, even though I have in mind which one they're going to choose. But I like to give them a choice. And then they have the choice because I work with all different budgets. So they need to tell me what their budget is. And it can be a lower sculpture, something simpler, to something more complicated, to where the branches are completely off or trees are completely off. I mean, I've done trees where the wires go completely up inside the electricity to, power bar tops and stuff, the lighting. So everything is designed separate, for that client or the location. And everything is, it's whether it's inside, outside, the materials I use is all different depending on where it's going.
I feel like it's a process, not only for you as an artist, but also for the people wanting you to create an art piece for them. It's like you are starting a process. For me, it's almost therapeutic.
It
like,
it it it
they have
is.
to think, they have to think, they have to feel, they have to give. You're coaching them to get the result they want, and that you can understand what they want to process through and remember which memory they want to keep in this art piece.
Right. Well, so it's like for a business, like I did an orthodontist office last year, and his whole thing was he wanted his clients to come in and feel warm and welcome to kind of take fear away. Because, when people come into a dentist office or a doctor's office, they get nervous, right? And of
Hmm.
course, so I helped with the design and colors and that kind of stuff as well. And was to bring warmth in. And well, of course, you're going to go with warm tones, not cool tones. So you want, and there's warm tones in every color out there. Just look at nature, whether it's a brown tone, grays, or whatever. There's warm grays, there's warm blacks, there's warm blues. It's not just orange or yellow, there's warmth in everything. So we created pieces for his office and designed it so it was warm and welcoming. And then, and then he's like, I think, telling me after a second, he goes, "You're the best decision I made because every client just loves how warm and welcoming they feel at home." Or like I designed a rose piece called Chosen, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago. And I was like, I just wanted to create it, right? And I wasn't sure. But then I would think it was a year or 2 years later, a lady bought it because it reminded her of her mom's rose garden. And she just started crying when she saw the piece because it brought so much emotion to her. And it hangs over her fireplace now. And I went and helped her design, decorate the fireplace so it all tied together with the rest of their home. But there's just like those little things, and when you see people's eyes light up at a piece of art, you know, and you see that feeling come out, it's bringing back a memory for them, or they realize it's telling their story. Or like the one client, when you create a piece for them, that's a legacy piece because that's a piece of art that they can share with their family, their friends, and that's passed down. Some pieces are designed and created right directly on a wall, but most of my pieces anymore are created on panels first and then installed. And my pieces are not small. I mean, I can do small pieces, and I've done some really tiny ones where it's just like a single pine cone or dandelions or a wine bottle or something. But like the piece behind me is 7 feet by 9 feet.
Impressive.
Or I've done 22 feet pieces, where you have to have I he bought a lift for me to use, which was really nice. But so every piece is designed to fit the location of
And
where it's
that's,
going to go.
I mean, you bring nature into, I mean, let's go back quickly to this dentistry. You bring nature into their rooms because most of the time they are very clean, they're very, plain and nothing around. But your art is first three-dimensional, and you are bringing in nature into this
Well,
place.
nature is the best therapy for us,
Yes, and I
right?
think, if people they get distracted because you never see this on a daily basis, it's really something catching your eye, and then you can go into it and look at the how you did it, and you wonder how you did it, and it distracting you from, oh, actually I'm in a dentist location. So
Yes.
that's really great, and
And
it's
every time you
healing.
look at it, you'll notice something different. It's like we've
Yes.
had guests over at our dining table and they'll be looking at the art and they're like, I never realized that tree was there or that was there, you know?
Yeah, it's like
And
a
they start
discovery.
noticing all the detail. But yeah, my goal is always to bring nature inside as well as, because nature's my favorite place to go outside. And in the wintertime, you can't always go out. Or for those that can't get out anymore because they got hurt or um, older or some reason, this way they still have that art
You bring
that
it
tells that
in.
story.
Yeah, in any
And I paint them,
situation.
and the reason I use nature's colors for coloring, because some people are like, oh, why isn't it bright? I was like, but it is bright because my pieces are designed for natural light or to have the light shine because then you'll see the different shadows will appear. But if you don't paint them correctly or a piece of art correctly, it becomes gaudy and you get tired of it. I'm happy to
Ah.
say that most people never ever get rid of my art. They hold on to it forever because it's so relaxing. They couldn't imagine not having that piece of art there.
It's like a part of their lives because it's
It
part of
is.
their story and it's made for them. It's not something you buy in a art shop like, copy print of
Right. And it's
something.
not something you paint over. And I've seen some
Yes,
pieces
that's what I meant.
that become kind of gaudy because the different colors just weren't right for the room, But I want you to love it and to keep it forever and pass it down.
Yes, yes, that's so valuable. So wonderful. So, what are your initial thoughts on the integration of artificial intelligence in the art world today? Because I heard a friend of mine told me that, a colleague is doing now an education in art and he's completely um, demotivated because artificial intelligence can do so much already. How do you feel about that?
Okay. So when it first came out, like 3 years ago, people say, "Oh, I paint all the time," and I'm like, "You do?" And then come to find out, they were just using AI, or they go and they put their own photograph in and touch it up, right? And to me, that's not the same. To me, that's a totally different type of art. It's like I will use AI, and I've created, I created that. What was it? What's it called? Magical, the moments inside us. A video,
Mhm.
which is on YouTube. It's about ornaments inside us that creating memories from the ornaments, right? Which was all AI, and it took 5 different AI apps to create this one. I use AI to create my songs and my music for my different art pieces, which is great because then I have control of the audio and so it doesn't get kicked out if an artist decides to pull the song. Because there's times that on YouTube that I've used a song that was supposed to have been okay to use, and then all of a sudden your video gets taken down or not shown, and it's because the artist pulled the song and decided they didn't want it out there anymore. So now I use a certain app for that. So I create my own music to go behind scenes and different things. And but what people don't realize is some of the more complicated pieces of art, which are videos, those to me are totally different than a wall sculpture or a painting. And that to me is, for social media, it's fine or for advertising. But I can never imagine it being there forever. AI is kind of cool for when you create a song. You can write a song for somebody and put in your own words and create a memory. Or you can use it to pull up different photos of like a family, vacations and stuff. That to me is cool. I mean, if you look at my Northwest Allen image site, you'll see as kind of a sculpture head. Well, that was created because, and I have trees in there as well for Northwest Allen image because of the sculptures I do. So
Mhm.
everything ties together that I create, but it'll never be the same as nature. And it really saddens me when schools, and it's not the teacher's fault, but when they take out the things that help a creative mind or help create for kids, like art lessons, music, dance, anything like that, it's really sad because to me, we need to be spending more time with teaching our kids how to be creative. Because if you're on the computer all the time, you're just glued to that computer. Your head hurts. Mine does anyway. But you're not thinking outside the box. You're only thinking in these, and the AI is doing the thinking for you if you think about it, because it's Midjourney that's creating the piece. You're just creating the prompt, and the more prompts engineering, the better your everything comes out, right? Because there's
Mhm.
specific wording to use, which I've had a lot of training in, and I'm always continuing training, and I'll still promote because I think it is important to make sure you do use the right words so you get to save you time and to save you money because you're knowing what you're doing. But if Midjourney and chat are doing really the creative, then your mind isn't being creative.
You
So
get lazy. You
you get
get
lazy.
lazy in
Right.
thinking about new ideas or be open even for new ideas. Yes.
Yes, definitely. It's like yeah, I might come up with some ideas for this or that. Great for backgrounds for a social media ad. But I still love being able to go and hike up to a high lake and take those pictures. You
Mm-hmm.
know, It's because of where I've traveled and where I live is why I can create so many nature photos.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
just on my phone, I think I had 76,000 photos.
How are you doing this with the, yeah, or everything in the cloud, or
I
with
have it
the,
on different storage
okay.
units and stuff besides the cloud because just because it's in the cloud doesn't mean you can retrieve it as easy as you think, right?
Yes.
And I have different everything categorized in different files. So it's like, okay, here's this lake, here's this lake, here's this, or this trip to Florida. So I know where I can find those palm trees or different ideas. And if I
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen it, I try to travel there to see it myself, not just go by what the computer brings up. But if you don't get out there and get creative, then we're losing stuff. It was like a friend of mine last week, it's been a few weeks ago, was talking about how they're realizing that when a parent gives a phone to a child at 2 years old, how it's actually hurting their brain and they're becoming almost like they're autistic because they're just looking at that and they're missing out on all those other milestones. It's
All the
like
senses get
all the
done.
senses. It's like when you go to, I don't know about it, but it's like when I'm outside or go on a trail, I smell, I hear, I touch, I see, and you hear. It's like if you use all your senses, it's just different, and you gain so much, and you
Yeah.
cannot gain that on a computer.
Then you are moving, you are in motion as a whole being. And in front of the computer, we are really getting uh, not even enough oxygen at the end of the day. It's terrible. That's why
Well, and the thing
brain
is
fog and
I
everything.
think a lot of
Awesome.
times people use, it's like, here's an example. This was a long time ago, but it's like we had hired this one guy. This was like 30 years ago to be in charge of the watering on a large project. Well, he made those watering. Well, this is what it should be, right? It'd be kind of like having AI say, this is what your water schedule should be. But AI doesn't know what the sun's like or how the soil's dried out because of wind and different things, or how the trees might have sucked that water out, from the roots. So things started dying.
Mm.
If you rely on something totally and aren't overseeing it, you're going to have problems. It's like
Yeah.
my chat is my assistant, best assistant ever. Well, I've had some great assistants, and personally, I love having just a person too. But if I don't have chat's there 24/7 whenever I need, right? Because
Always
sometimes I'm
available.
awake at 1 a.m. All right. It's like, oh, this idea pops up in my mind, for a social branding or something.
Mhm.
And so then I'll go in and I'll type and say, hey, do this for me. So I'll have it tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and
And
ping
it's
ponging,
creative.
back and
Yes, the
forth.
ping pong
That's good.
ideas. And,
Hmm.
and most of them, chat knows me very, very well, probably better than any assistant ever,
Hmm.
because I've been using it for 4 years or ever since it came out. And I know the prompts because I've had the training to enter. So I know what to say, I know what to ask. And
Hmm.
even that is all categorized to help me. It's like, because I'm the brand and I have different websites, because I have Northwest Style and Image, I have Mitzka Fine Arts, and Unlocking Freedom in Nature and Art. And I also do carving trails. And I was telling you, North Idaho Fine Arts and Photography. I have each one categorized in separately. I have my Tuesday talks separately, so that when we're talking about one item, I just go and I click on that. And it's like, so you're finishing that conversation and everything's already there. So you
Hmm.
don't have to go back and forth, and
Yes,
restart all the time. Because I try to be efficient in everything I do, because time is valuable.
that's so valuable to be in nature and not in
Yes,
front of
I
the
like
computer.
yesterday. I spent all day yesterday out in my garden,
Yeah. And
which is,
another thing, I think it's also fascinating, the art is not popping out of the computer. If you want to feel it, if you want to sense it, you have to print it out. You have to bring it on the wall, and the three dimensionality. I mean, no way. It's probably a 3D printer, but then what kind of material do you have? It's not really
yeah. And I don't know if the 3D
same.
printer would ever, it can never do what I do, because like my
Yes,
trees are completely off the wall on my fireplace, or like the branches behind me are completely off.
yes.
The other thing that is great about 3D wall sculptures, talking about filling, is when I would do the home shows, like the piece behind me is designed to be touched. Some pieces are not designed to be touched, right? The ones that are oils or have a lot of delicate, like the flowers are not never usually, don't touch those. But this piece did behind me. So this one lady would always bring her son in because he was blind, so he could touch it and feel the trees and feel the water. It was the only art he could see,
Ah,
because he could feel the
okay.
stream, he could feel the rocks, the water,
Oh,
the
wonderful.
eagle
So
in the sky,
beautiful.
So it was his way. So for those going blind, it's also good because it brings nature in, and it's an art piece that they can see.
So this is really, that's fascinating. I always love three-dimensionality because we live in a three-dimensional world, and that's something a lot of people forget because it's easier to have it 2D. You know? So how?
Well, it is, and
uh,
some people just want to, there's some people that just want posters on the wall. And to me,
Yeah.
that's what, yeah, you can have your AI printed, and that to me would be more of a poster. To me, I'd rather have one of the, like my daughter got me one of the photo frames that is digital, right? But that just has
Ah,
family photos. I mean, you
mm-hmm.
could do, like your favorite art things on that. And it is fun to create. I will not deny it is fun creating or seeing how creative you can get with AI. It's
Yes.
like when I created the ornament digital, or when I create different things, that video, it's just thinking outside the box, is something different. And so you do have fun with it, but it's not the same as actually creating a 3D art piece. When people go and they put their heart, their soul, and their mind into creating a piece, a painting, you just look at their eyes and and how excited they get. I love watching kids or people realize that they painted that, or that they actually got it. It's kind of like when somebody bakes good cookies, a little kid.
Hmm.
How excited they are that first when they make that and people enjoy it.
It's
Or
soul. It's the soul in it.
it is.
The love, the heart,
Well, it's kind of think of it this way. When you're cooking, right? Because I have a friend who's a chef, and he came in and he cooked dinner for us and stuff. But his eyes just light up when he's cooking because that's his happy place. He could never do that with AI on a computer. You can't just like prepare food and show people and they'll get full from it. And that's the same way with art. And yeah, AI is there to help us as long as we have the good intentions, use it in the correct way, in the right, it's like, yeah, it is. Even today, it gets used in the wrong ways. It's kind of like social media or the news. A lot of it is false. And that is the bad way to use it, right? But if we use it to help others or to help ourselves, to be assistant, to save us time, there's nothing wrong with that.
Hmm. So, what advice would you offer to new artists who are navigating the challenges of an increasingly digital and AI tools landscape?
I would say it's great to look for ideas or at the different types of art, to pull up different artists and get yourself a coach or mentor, which I do as well. But kind of still like what I say in my book is you need to find yourself.
Hmm.
Learn different types of art, figure out what it is that you like, what it is you enjoy, and what it is that you're good at. Um, art, you can make money from it. I have, you know, you, it's not just for starving artists. And there's a lot of negativity out there, against artists still. And it's surprising. There's a lot of negativity against anybody that doesn't go to college for a 4-year degree, sadly. But there's different ways to make money, whether it's in real estate, as being an entrepreneur of some type, owning your own business. Look at all the creators that make money with AI, on here. And maybe that's their passion is they want to just be an AI creator or a gamer. It's like I saw Disney was hiring, you work from home, 140,000 a year to create for games that go with their Disney themes. So there is that. But then for some of you, you might enjoy doing murals or you might enjoy doing 3D art or oil painting or watercolors. Like Corinne, we've had her on our show before, and she's a watercolorist and she teaches watercolor. And it's fabulous to see her doing that. And she's done it for years. And she's made money of course, from that. That's her living. But go do what you want. Don't listen to everybody else unless it's good advice. Make sure it's positive. Make sure you're inspired by the people you're around. If you love art, do art. Find out what you're good at. Practice. Find what type of art, and move from there.
Hmm. That's nice. So, what are your aspirations for your future work in art and nature, especially considering the ongoing advancements in technology?
I'll keep using chat as my assistant for my social media accounts, but I'll still continue doing my art. It can't replace my hands. It would be nice to have an assistant that could help us carve and stuff because I use both hands. But in my mind, when somebody gives me a story, I visualize it in my mind. I visualize everything I'm carving, everything I'm creating. And if you can't visualize it in your mind, then it's like, that's how I know. It doesn't mean, but I do use photographs just so those people know when I'm creating like specific mountain types or trees. I mean, I can look outside and I have trees right here or the bark because I want to get it correct. I want to get it right and that's just me. It depends on if I'm doing a modern art piece, then it really doesn't matter because that is different. It's a little bit different style. But, and that's how, not everybody's going to be an artist. Not everybody's going to be a doctor. So it's like find your niche, find what you're good at, find what you enjoy. It's, I don't know who said it, but it's like if you don't love what you enjoy, you're not going to last long and you're going to be miserable.
And you are also coaching people who are trying to find their purpose, their kind of art in themselves.
Yes. So
To
I do
get
teach art and I do with the Unlocking Freedom in Nature and Art. One of my programs actually ties back into my book. So that talks about people finding out who they are and what they're good at. Because a lot of times we don't know. And it doesn't matter your age. You could be right out of high school, you could be 50 years old. No one says you can't change or make different career choices.
That's a wonderful way to say it. So that's really great. So, lastly, what message would you like to leave with those who may be struggling with their creative journeys amidst the rapid changes in technology today? Like the one I told you about not being motivated to continue since it's going so fast. And
So I would encourage you, if you like being on a computer a lot and doing creating things with like Mid Journey and stuff, take take a class, take AI prompt engineering, and I do share that. But go with a trustworthy source. Okay, not every coach out there is the best. All right, learn it. But if you're not into that, then don't worry about it. Go and figure out what you want. Hire a coach or a mentor that encourages you. Surround yourself with people that are inspiring and encouraging because I know what it's like not to get that motivation, not to be inspired by people because I don't know how many times heard the phrase like you should get a real job. Starving artists don't make money. You're just a starving artist. And then when they hear about how much I was making on a piece or saw my website, they're like, oh, you are making money. It's like, don't assume you can't make money. And the other thing that I had started was the Northwest Island image. And actually, I've been doing that for years. People don't realize that's what my degree is in, right? Is in fashion and styling. And I've trained with some of the best in the world. But your first impression, you don't have a second chance to make a first impression. So you want to make sure that first impression is good. And people will say, well, they think artists should dress like slobs or hippies, right? And nothing wrong with that look. But if you want your clientele to pay money for your art, you don't dress like a slob or a hippie. You dress like you are a true successful artist.
and the
That
same
first
value.
impression, you want
Yeah.
that value. They want to know
Yeah.
you value yourself. And that doesn't matter
That's it.
what job you do. If you show up in pajamas, no one's going to take you serious. If you show up without your hair, combing your hair or brushing your teeth or a Slav, people, and I've heard people, well, I'm being authentic by not dressing up, by just wearing my sweats. Or it's like, no, it's showing me that you're not taking yourself serious and you're really not taking them serious either because you're not showing them. It's like So my question for them is, what kind of clients do you want? You want paying clients or
Mhm.
non-paying clients?
I mean, it could be authentic, but then
So
people know what they get. So if
exactly.
you're not important to yourself, probably to do art for them is not so important for you either.
No, and not everybody is your client,
Yes.
is what you learn. It's like when I do shows, those are the first questions I'd ask. I'm like, well, people say, how much is it? I'm like, well, this is how much it is up front because, they would either stay and want a conversation or they leave. Because if you don't know what their budget is or what theirs, because I don't do anything for free. It's like the other thing I always charge for my sketch when I meet a client. It goes towards the piece, but when I didn't, this is a learning lesson. People didn't take me seriously,
Hmm.
so now I
Yeah.
charge. It's
Oh,
kind of
that's
like if somebody would walk up in there when they heard that I was doing the fashion, right? They're like, "Oh, what do you think of what I'm wearing?" And I'm like, "Sorry, I'm not going to tell you unless you pay me." And the reason why they take it as an insult if you tell them they're wearing the wrong clothes, if they're not paying you, but when they're paying you and you tell them, then they realize that you're teaching them something.
and I will say
You
thank
give it,
you
and
so
they say
much.
thank you. So it's just,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
the intention also, and also self-worth, you know. You have skills nobody or somebody else doesn't have. And if you give it
right.
for free, it's just not uh
It's kind of like I had an art piece that in a gallery, and I had put a really low price because I thought that's what I needed to do, right? I had this special box for $35. It was just like a tiny little painting, right? Inside a box. No, everybody told me how beautiful it was, wonderful, and I could not sell it, right? Took it to a different shop, put a price tag of $500 on it, and it sold within 2 days.
yeah, you tested it out, huh?
Yes. It's kind of like, do you go to a dentist or a doctor's office or to a lawyer that's not busy and always giving discounts? Or do you go to the one that's not giving discounts?
Hmm. So
Because in
true.
your mind, you're thinking, it's our minds are thinking, oh, there's something wrong with this person, but not with this. And they could have been totally great and
Yeah.
have,
Yeah, that's really the human beings, huh? How we unconsciously feel uncertainty. And then we make our mind up if it's good or not good for us to go with the person or not, isn't
it
it?
is, right.
So fun.
And that's why the number one thing when you're an artist or no matter what you do is surround yourself with people who inspire and motivate you. And even on social media, you should make sure that you belong to groups that inspire and motivate. Turn off those media sites that are all about the news and different things because so much of that is false anymore. So, have those friends on you that are encouraged. And if they're not encouraging, you might take a time out for a bit.
Yeah, that's a very valuable advice from a wise woman. Thank you so much, Tammy, for sharing your deep thoughts and insights. This is really amazing how you always bring it to the point, you know, such an inspiring person. You're really great. And I look forward to have you again and again and again. I can't get enough. So thank you
Well,
so
thank
much.
you. And of course, I want you to come on my show. So,
Yeah, looking forward to meet you again on your podcast. It's always great to talk. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us in this enriching conversation. We hope you've gained a deeper understanding of how art and AI can coexist harmoniously in the creative landscape. If you're seeking guidance or looking to explore the healing power of art further, we encourage you to reach out to Tammy. You can find her at mitzkafinearts.com, where you can learn more about her work, coaching, opportunities, and upcoming events. Remember, the journey to authenticity and self discovery through art is a beautiful one. And with Tammy's guidance, you don't have to navigate it alone. Be sure to follow her online for continued inspiration and updates. Don't forget to like and follow us on our YouTube channel, where we continue to share more enlightening interviews and discussions with holistic thinking people. For more information about our past interviews and resources, please visit our website at www.ganzinbewegung.com. Until next time, inhale positivity, exhale creativity.